A ticking debt time bomb, a dollar that's lost 97% of its value, a treasuries market held hostage by foreign rivals. We've all been told these problems are unsolvable, but very soon that may not be the case, thanks to a master plan being orchestrated by President Trump. According to our guest, what he's calling Project MAFA could soon return to us a new gold standard, solve America's debt problem, and unleash an era of prosperity unlike anything we've seen in decades. Most people have never heard of this project. It has nothing to do with tariffs or anything the mainstream media is talking about. In short, Jeff Brown recently returned from a gathering in our nation's capital with some of the most powerful and influential people in America. He discovered that the Trump administration, Wall Street, and Silicon Valley have formed an alliance around this project. They've devised a way for trillions of dollars to flood into America's coffers from an unexpected place. In fact, upcoming legislation could soon make this plan the law of the land. And if you get ahead of it, you could watch your net worth skyrocket in the weeks, months, and years to come. So, what is this plan? How could it be put in place this summer? And how can you claim a share in this trillion-dollar flood of money? Joining us now is our special guest. Jeff has moved in the inner circles of Silicon Valley and Washington, D.C. for decades. He's a member of D.C. headquartered the Digital Chamber, where he regularly meets with policymakers and elected officials. His insights on the growing threat from China are part of the congressional record, and his ideas have been reposted by President Trump. Most importantly, everyday people who followed his research have been ahead of all of the big trends of the past decade. But now, Jeff's coming forward with arguably his biggest discovery yet. And today, you'll be among the first to get all the details. Jeff, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Kim. Thank you for having me. As you can tell, events are unfolding very quickly, and I'm glad to have the chance to help everyone get ahead of what's coming right now.
Well, Jeff, I've obviously heard of Trump's MAGA initiative, and I've also heard of MAFA, Trump's plan to make America healthy again. But I haven't heard about what you're calling Project MAFA. Based on the little nuggets you've told me, it sounds like it could be Trump's most ambitious plan yet.
Well, that's an understatement. People are going to be shocked. Trump himself has said that what's in the works is incredible and pure genius. And I have to say, he is not kidding.
All right, well, how big of an impact are we talking here?
Well, think of it this way. Over the past century, America has had a few golden ages. You might remember the long boom ushered in by President Reagan when the stock market soared for nearly a decade. The post-World War II boom when America became the dominant superpower. And now we're actually on the cusp of something even bigger. It is the biggest, most ambitious plan I've ever seen by a sitting president. And when it's complete, our economy will no longer be dependent on our rivals. China could sell all of its U.S. debt, and it just wouldn't matter. And it's also set to return America to an era of sound money where money is backed by a gold standard. Now, that's something that we haven't enjoyed since 1971, when sitting President Richard Nixon severed the gold standard. Now, we've seen nothing but money printing and inflation worries since. Yeah. Now, what's more, with this project, we'll finally have a way out of our enormous debt burden.
Yeah, it is very enormous. So all of that could actually happen, though, from this one project?
Yes. We're talking about true prosperity, free from foreign entanglements and built on sound money.
Okay, I hear you, but forgive me, Jeff. I'm not sure I understand. China could sell its U.S. debt and it wouldn't matter. How is that possible?
I know it sounds crazy. You know, at first, I didn't either. I never thought I'd see this happen in my lifetime because until recently, it wasn't possible. Under the current system, the U.S. is essentially held hostage. Mm-hmm. If China wants to punish the U.S., it can simply dump U.S. treasuries. The same with other large creditors like Japan. Mm-hmm. The damage would be massive. U.S. interest rates would rise, the dollar would weaken, the stock market would be in trouble, and U.S. financial stability would be put in question. Yeah. This is a real threat. And you can see that in these recent headlines.
Yeah, the Economic Times says if Japan dumps U.S. debt, Trump could face a treasury market meltdown that sends yields surging sky high. And International Banker asks, is China engaging in large-scale dumping of U.S. Treasury securities. So there's speculation this is already starting?
There is, absolutely. This is America's Achilles heel. China and others have tremendous leverage over the United States. It holds us back.
Yes.
For example, America needs to grow its manufacturing base, not only for the jobs, but as a matter of national security. Certain weapon systems should not be outsourced to China. The problem is the U.S. can't make China mad.
Oh, yeah. And that's what happened with Trump's Liberation Day tariff announcement back in April, right?
That's right. Trump might not have publicly admitted it, but China and others threatened to dump U.S. treasuries. So he had to scale things back. This is a problem. Trump isn't accustomed to being put in that position. Now, it's keeping us from reaching our full potential as a nation.
Yeah, but let me ask you, what can Trump actually do? I mean, there are only so many potential debt buyers out there. So who else has pockets deep enough?
Exactly. Well, that's why this problem has persisted for years, even through Trump's first term. And it's why he and his team have been hard at work looking for a workaround. And they've teamed up with the brightest minds in Silicon Valley and Wall Street. And Kim, you're not going to believe it, but for the first time, there actually is a solution. And I call it Project MAFA. It's unlike anything that you'd expect. And when I tell you where the money is going to come from, you're going to be shocked. It is truly ingenious. Once I connect all the dots, it will explain the unusual moves that Trump has been making since he re-entered the White House. Many of them are directly related to Project MAFA. Now, this project is about to go live. It is set to be enshrined as the law of the land. And when that happens, you can forget about a golden age. We could be looking at a golden century.
Wow, I love the sound of that, but how? I'm still failing to put the pieces together.
Well, don't worry, it will come together. It all came together for me during my last trip to Washington, D.C. I was at a gathering with dozens of representatives, billionaires, business associates of President Trump, even the president's son, Don Jr.
Wow.
Obviously, very powerful people. And I've been to these types of gatherings in the past, and sometimes they're all talk and very little action. But I quickly realized this one was different. We started talking about all of these issues: the dollar, the mounting debt burden, China's stranglehold. And that's when it all came together for me. Trump has found a new buyer.
A buyer of what? Our debt?
Yes, our debt, our U.S. treasuries. It's a buyer that didn't exist until recently, but it's poised to become the biggest repository of U.S. debt in the world. In fact, it could become such a big debt buyer that there might not be enough debt to buy up in the market.
Well, I know this has you super excited. I love your enthusiasm. But in other words, through this plan, there might not be enough U.S. treasuries to buy than what's on the market today?
Yes, that's right. And when that happens, treasury prices increase, financial stability increases, and treasury yields, and ultimately interest rates, key point, decline. When I realized this, I was stunned. I finally saw how all the pieces fit together.
And when that happened, what did you do?
Well, I got to work. I quickly gathered my team. I said, we need to help our readers get ahead of this. That's why I'm here today. And let me be very clear. I mean, Trump has an ace up his sleeve that no president has ever had before. Wow. He has arranged for trillions of dollars to flood the U.S. economy soon. Specifically, a corner of the market is set to see 10 times more money inflows than it's ever seen before. Wow. Now, this would solve our debt problem and potentially send a series of investments soaring in the process. And so far, almost no one knows about this. I've only heard bits and pieces about Project MAFA floating around. Only a few people have actually connected the dots, and even fewer realize how to play it. And of course, that's why I'm coming forward today. So as long as we act now by July 25th, we have a chance to get ahead of this multi-trillion-dollar wave of money.
Wow. Well, as you can see, you have made a very smart decision to be here today. If Jeff's right, we could be on the cusp of radical change. The American economy of tomorrow could look a whole lot different from the one of yesterday. And Jeff's going to give us the full story, including how to play it. And that includes the assets set to benefit the most, right?
Exactly right. As I said, A corner of the financial market is key to this plan. It is set to see a flood of investment. Yet because of the way that it operates, it's essentially hidden. So unless you know where to look, it's very hard to see the money flowing in. Now, I know that sounds strange, but it's true. I'll break it all down for you and our viewers, and I'll discuss a series of investments positioned to benefit the most. Plus, I'll also explain why we don't have much time. Because of how groundbreaking this project is, it has rare bipartisan support, which is unusual these days. Any day now, this project could be the law of the land. So once that happens, that's when those trillions of dollars are expected to start pouring in to this segment of the financial markets. It's critical to get in ahead of that happening.
All right, time is of the essence. If you have any questions, and I'm sure you do, feel free to send them in because we're going to have a Q&A a little later on. And Jeff's also promised to give the name and ticker symbol of a play that could see a huge portion of this new money. So let's get right into it, Jeff. Unravel Project MAFA for us.
Okay, well, let's go back to some of the moves that President Trump has been making. He'll give us hints. From the day that he re-entered the Oval Office, he's come out swinging. Now, you can probably see the reasoning behind some of these moves, right?
Oh, yeah, some of them for sure. For one, his emphasis on manufacturing here at home. You know, after COVID and all of the supply chain disruptions that we experienced, that really makes sense for me. And as a matter of national security, we definitely need a bigger manufacturing base.
Right, that's right. Plus, it naturally could create millions of new jobs.
That too, absolutely. And I also understand the tariffs. I know that's controversial, you know, it's a controversial issue, but Trump wants to give American companies a fair shot at selling their products on the world stage. And I also understand why he launched DOGE, another controversial issue, but he wants to cut billions in waste, fraud, and abuse, right?
Precisely right. So do I. Now, you can see how these moves are obviously aimed at long-term prosperity. They're not for show. More money in, less money out. Now, that piece is really about rebalancing America's cash flow statement. But where people lose the thread is with the assets piece, so specifically alternative assets. So, for example, Trump wants to audit Fort Knox for the first time in 50 years. Fort Knox, as we know, stores a large portion of the U.S. gold reserves, which are currently valued at over $400 billion. Why? Well, Trump's also signed an executive order to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve, a digital Fort Knox, if you will. And he's also getting heavily involved in cryptocurrencies. Now, you've probably seen some stories about that.
Yeah.
It's all pretty unprecedented, right?
Yeah, exactly. And why is he doing all of this? I mean, you're saying this isn't just Trump being random, even though that's what it looks like, that this is all part of Project MAFA.
Okay, yes, I do. I can feel your skepticism, but it all goes back to the dollar and solving our debt problem. You see, first and foremost, Trump wants to cut China out. So he's turning to an unexpected place.
Where? I'm so curious.
Well, believe it or not, it's actually the cryptocurrency market, specifically a corner of the crypto market that very few people know much about.
Really? Well, you're right. That's pretty surprising. I'm sure that's a shock to just about everybody watching.
It probably is. I'm sure it is, actually. And if I hadn't been involved in cryptocurrencies for the last decade and spent so much time in Washington, D.C., it probably would have been a surprise for me too. But it is true. Crypto is the key. It's the thing that's going to free us from China, establish a new gold standard, and get us on a path to prosperity. In fact, it's designed to happen automatically.
Automatically. Okay, explain that for us. How is that possible? I mean, what does it have to do with U.S. Treasuries? And who's the new buyer? I've got to know. Inquiring minds.
I'll answer all your questions, Kim. Please, don't worry.
Okay.
And it's actually a lot simpler than you might think. That's why you'll be so surprised. You see, to most people, the cryptocurrency market is a place to go to get rich, which makes sense. A lot of people have gotten rich. They forget that digital assets and their underlying technology, blockchain technology, have a real purpose and are disrupting all sorts of industries.
Can you give us an example of this?
Well, let's take real estate, for example. When you buy a home, there are all sorts of middlemen. There's so much friction. Banks, mortgage lenders, title companies. It is such a long, painful, and expensive process. I've been through it so many times. Well, enter cryptocurrencies and blockchains. Some crypto networks can actually reduce real estate closing times from weeks or months to just hours. In fact, soon you'll likely be able to buy property all over the world quickly without all those middlemen, dramatically reducing the cost of the transaction. And if you just take it one step further, the same thing is happening in finance. Bank transfers and settlements, they can still take up to 5 days to clear. But with cryptocurrency technology, the transaction settles instantly.
Really? Okay, well, but how does this help Trump cut out China? I mean, that's a pretty big middleman to eliminate.
That's a great point. But it can be done by using a corner of the crypto market called stablecoins. Now, most people have never heard of stablecoins. They're completely a unique kind of digital asset.
And what makes them different?
Well, they're essentially digital dollars.
How so?
Well, they're pegged to the US dollar. Every unit of a stablecoin is pegged to a reference asset, usually US dollars.
So the same way the dollar was pegged to gold back in the day, these stable coins are pegged to dollars?
That's right. And this has made them very useful and, of course, valuable. So today, 2 of the top 10 biggest cryptocurrencies, coins on the entire market, are actually stable coins. But here's the thing. It's the way they're pegged to the dollar that makes them so interesting to President Trump. It's through U.S. treasuries.
What do you mean?
All right. So just imagine, as individuals and companies and funds purchase U.S. dollar stable coins, the companies that issue these stable coins have to go out in the market and buy an equal amount of U.S. treasuries. That's how they make and establish that peg.
All right. So in other words, when you invest in a stable coin, you're indirectly investing in treasuries?
That's exactly right. Your U.S. dollar stable coin is directly backed by U.S. treasuries, 1-to-1. That is where the opportunity lies. Both Wall Street and corporate America want to invest massive amounts of money in stablecoins. In fact, at a scale of trillions of dollars. That's because stablecoins are much more efficient and would save these companies billions of dollars in transaction fees. The only thing missing has been the proper rules and regulations.
There hasn't been the infrastructure Wall Street requires?
No, absolutely not. But as we speak, the Trump administration, Congress, and the entire crypto community are changing that. They are creating everything that Wall Street, Silicon Valley, and corporate America need to plow huge money into stablecoins. This is a game changer. The Treasury Department says this market could witness exponential growth. That's the Treasury Department.
Wow.
And Wall Street, of course, believes it could be worth trillions in just a few years. And they know that's trillions of dollars, which will also find its way into United States treasuries.
I mean, Jeff, this is mind-blowing, right? and that would count, though? That would be the same as a foreign country buying U.S. treasuries?
Yes, that's the brilliance. The buyer can be anybody. It can be a foreign country. It can be a sovereign wealth fund, corporation, you name it. In the past, we've always looked at foreign countries primarily, including ones that don't like the U.S. to hold large sums of U.S. treasuries. And of course, this has come with all sorts of baggage that we know well. But Trump is taking a completely different approach. He's planning to use the trillions set to flood the stablecoin market to create the perfect workaround. Kim, forget China. The U.S. will no longer have to worry about that kind of leverage that it holds with our debt. For the first time, the U.S. has a better way.
I can see why you're so excited. I mean, this is really incredible. So it sounds like President Trump wants to take back control, and he's really doing it. Instead of being held hostage by foreign rivals, he's turning to us, to America.
Yes, he is. He's turning to the American economic engine to plow money back into our own treasuries. We become our own backers. It is an ingenious workaround. And I hope you can see how big this
Yes.
is. It's the dream of every president.
Oh, yeah.
The Treasury's market controls everything. James Carville, a former advisor to the Clinton White House, if you remember, he pointed this out.
Yeah, let's take a look at his quote. He said, I love this. I used to think that if there was reincarnation, I wanted to come back as the president or the Pope or as a 400 baseball hitter. But now I would like to come back as the Treasury's market. You can intimidate everybody.
It is so true. Say what you want about Carville. He is absolutely right about this. Like I said, this has always been America's Achilles heel. And that's why I call this initiative Project MAFA. What does it stand for? I'm sure you've been wondering.
Yes.
Make America free again, because that's what it does. America is finally going to be financially free, just like our founders intended. Now, in a minute, I'll break down all the ways that this is great for the U.S. And not only does it solve our China problem, it also creates a new gold standard. The dollar could be stronger than ever before, something that I've been predicting. And it also helps tackle our long-term debt and could kick off a golden century of economic growth. But it's most exciting as an investor.
Okay, why is that?
Well, because Wall Street is about to have a way to invest literally trillions of dollars into stablecoins. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent puts that number at $3.7 trillion. Now consider this. That is more than 10 times the size of the entire market today. And whenever the crypto industry has seen a flood of Wall Street money, it has always created massive gains for those who got ahead of it. Now, we've seen this over and over again, going back to the big crypto boom in Trump's first term.
You're talking about the boom in 2017?
Oh, yes. It was a complete mania. It reminded me like the dot-com boom, but people forget that Wall Street caused all the biggest gains.
How? What did Wall Street do?
Well, in July of that year, the U.S. Commodity Futures Trading Commission approved Bitcoin options. So they were Bitcoin derivatives. Then in August, the CBOE announced that it planned to launch Bitcoin futures trading. And this was huge news. Nothing like that had happened in the crypto world before. You can see the effect on Bitcoin's price.
Yeah, it soared from less than $3,000 all the way up to $20,000 in just a couple of months.
Yes,
Wow.
It was incredible. And for the first time, traditional finance, Wall Street, they had a way into the crypto markets. As CNBC said at the time, the CBOE had given cryptocurrencies legitimacy in the eyes of Wall Street. It opened up the floodgates.
Oh, yeah, I see. So once the CBOE and federal regulators created a platform for Wall Street, the big money was able to come pouring in, causing all those huge gains.
That's exactly right. And the best part is Bitcoin wasn't the only beneficiary. As soon as I heard about what was happening, I invested in Coinbase, the largest cryptocurrency exchange in the United States.
Yeah, was this in Coinbase's early days, I'm guessing?
Yes, very early. Coinbase would go on to have one of the biggest IPOs ever, $112 billion.
Ooh.
But when I spotted it, it was worth about 1/100th of that.
What was it about Coinbase? What drew you to it specifically?
Well, I knew that Wall Street would be looking for legitimate, credible investments. And after analyzing the company, Coinbase was the clear choice for a digital asset exchange. It was still a crypto company, digital first, but it was structuring itself in a way to be as compliant and buttoned up as possible, which is exactly what institutional investors would be looking for. And so I invested in August of 2017. And since then, my stake has rose as much as 74 times. That, of course, turns $10,000 into nearly $750,000. But again, it all began with creating a regulatory framework for big money to invest. And that's what I want everyone to understand. A Wild West environment does not work for big institutions. They require the proper regulatory framework. So once that's established, what happens? They back up the truck, sending all sorts of coins soaring.
Wow, and if I'm following you, that's what's happening today. It's the same kind of thing, right? Only on a much bigger level.
That's right, on a much bigger scale. What happened back in 2017, honestly, it's just nothing compared to what we're seing today. Wall Street merely dipped its toe in back then. Trump was still mixed on crypto. He hadn't done anything like he's done since. The same was with corporate America, not today. All of these groups are working together to create the regulatory framework, and they are planning to get in at the same time. I'm talking about the federal government, Wall Street, Silicon Valley. They're all starting to invest in stablecoins.
And we've never seen this kind of collaborated effort before?
Never before,
Wow.
Not even close. And we're already seeing the effects. Already in the past few months, the stablecoin market has quietly become a major buyer and holder of U.S. treasuries. It's in the data. Recently, stablecoins were the 7th largest buyer of new U.S. treasuries.
Wow.
Think about that, the 7th largest buyer. And we're just getting started. Now, what we've seen so far, honestly, it's just nothing. Citibank projects stablecoins will become the largest buyer in just the next few years.
The largest buyer of all? Bigger than
Of
any
all.
foreign country?
That's right.
Wow.
That's the level of activity that we're seeing right now. Today, this industry is worth just $228 billion. But the Treasury Department projects, I mentioned this earlier, it will be worth $3.7 trillion by the end of the decade. That's just a few years away. Now, I'd like to put that number in context. Not only is that 10 times more than the entire stablecoin market, it's more than the entire cryptocurrency market. What's more, those estimates, from my perspective, they could be very conservative.
Really?
So I'll break it down for you. There are trillion-dollar markets up for grabs. And today, we have to get in on this at the very beginning.
Yes. And if the stablecoin market is small, I would assume the coins in this space are small as well.
It's a very good assumption. There are only 2 big players right now, Tether and Circle. And beyond that, all of them are small and largely unknown. I bet 1 in 100 investors could name any of them. But they're key players in the stablecoin market. And based on what's in the works, they could see an unprecedented amount of inflows.
All right. Now, I want to talk about some specific investments that you found in just a moment. But first, okay, explain this to us, because I want to know, why are stablecoins so interesting to all of these big institutions?
Well, in the digital assets industry, it all comes down to volatility. So for all its genius, Bitcoin's one weakness has always been volatility. In order for an asset to act as an intermediary for exchange, for a digital exchange, it has to be stable.
Right. Well, that makes sense, right? If you're going to buy something with it, you got to know it's going to be worth roughly the same amount tomorrow.
That's right. And there's a famous story about a guy who bought a pizza with Bitcoin back in the very early days. But because of Bitcoin's price rise, the pizza cost him, in today's money, about $670 million.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Now, I know that's a pretty extreme example, Kim, but even today, Bitcoin's value jumps all over the place. I mean, we can see it on this chart.
Yeah, take a look here. I mean, you're right. Wow. There are so many spikes there. And that's not the case with stablecoins?
No, they're always trading at the same price. That's the point. You can see that with Tether, the largest stablecoin.
Yeah, there are some slight variations there, but it's always right around $1.
Well, as I'll explain, they reward investors in other ways. And small plays, and this is the key point, small plays that are connected to stable coins can still increase in price by a lot more. But the point is, this stability opens up all sorts of doors. Stable coins can be used for payments, remittances to a home country, even things like savings deposits or earning interest on your stable coin holdings.
Okay, so, you've got me thinking here. If someone living in a third world country, right, their currency is highly volatile, they don't have access to dollars, but as long as they have an internet connection, they can transact in stable coins backed by US dollars?
That's spot on, exactly right. But it's not just far off countries. I mean, here in America, they could transform the financial system. They allow for stable, frictionless transactions with instant settlement. The underlying blockchain technology streamlines the entire process. I mean, banks, central banks, and fintech firms could all use stablecoins to create a faster, more efficient global payment system. As Yahoo Finance says, stablecoins could play a central role in shaping the future of digital money.
All right. It's really incredible. So what's the problem here? I mean, they seem like the perfect medium. Does
That's
it all
right.
come back to that regulatory framework?
Yes, exactly. And without clear regulations regarding stablecoins, much of the needed infrastructure hadn't been built yet. In order for big banks and big countries to use stablecoins, there needs to be a clear regulatory framework. And up until now, there simply wasn't any. And sadly, the Biden administration did everything in their power to stop this. What's more, it was never clear if stablecoins were really backed by treasuries. The companies didn't have to provide proof of that.
Which leads to a lot of mistrust.
That's
right?
Exactly right. What institution would hold stablecoins if they don't know what they're backed by? Mm-hmm. But now, for the first time, legislation is creating the regulatory framework that is needed. And this, of course, is the seal of approval that the industry has not only wanted, but of course, needed to operate.
Yeah. So is this why President Trump wanted to make America the crypto capital of the world?
Yes. I mean, isn't it incredible? It's all there. We can understand it now. It's directly linked to the U.S. Treasuries. It's a win-win.
Yeah.
Trump realized the power of stable coins, and he realized that most were already using U.S. Treasuries to back up their U.S. dollar stablecoins. So doing so allowed stablecoin companies to earn interest on the treasuries, so they have a monetary incentive to do so, and ensure the one-to-one backing for each stablecoin, which is what institutions need. So what did he do? He embraced it. He decided to work with them. As stablecoins receive money, naturally, they'll automatically pour that money into purchasing U.S. treasuries to maintain the one-to-one backing. It is a perfect arrangement. And as I said, stablecoin legislation is in the works as we speak. It could hit the president's desk at any time, literally. Once that happens, trillions of dollars will be set to flow into this previously hidden corner of the financial market, Kim. Again, that's why I'm coming forward today. That's why we're here. If you've never invested in cryptocurrencies before, if you missed out when Wall Street helped trigger prior run-ups, you have a rare second chance. We have a dream catalyst, just like we saw in 2017 and again in 2020.
Okay, what happened in 2020?
Well, that year and all the way into 2021, Wall Street took its next big step into crypto. So up to that point, Wall Street had mostly invested in Bitcoin indirectly through different forms of derivatives. But then Wall Street billionaire Paul Tudor Jones made his famous bet on Bitcoin as the best hedge against inflation. Now, this actually, for an institutional investor, this was a huge call at the time. Nobody of Jones's stature had ever said anything like that. And it was like the dam broke. Soon after, JP Morgan started offering banking services to crypto exchanges. Morgan Stanley became the first Wall Street bank to offer Bitcoin to its wealthy clients, and the first Bitcoin ETF launched.
Yeah, he really legitimized it, right? They created a new investment platforms for big money to then get in.
Exactly. And what happened? This led to even more big gains, especially for the projects that were well positioned for Wall Street investment. Once again, I saw this firsthand.
And which play were you invested in?
Several, Abra, Tyrion, Brave, Dharma Labs, Chia Networks, Starkware, Ripple Labs. I mean, Ripple Labs is a good example of what I'm talking about, working with the authorities instead of against them. It's the company behind the digital asset XRP, which is a very popular cryptocurrency. From day one, it has been forming partnerships with big banks, governments, central banks. I got in when it was worth just $250 million. And during that rally, it soared all the way to a valuation of $15 billion. That's a 60x return. And the other plays that I mentioned have soared as high as 46 times, 15 times, 45 times, 13 times, 16 times, 80 times. And there's a whole lot more, Kim.
Whoa, that is quite the string of winners there. Were these exceptional returns?
Well, no. I mean, they're definitely big, but as that big money flowed in, other small cryptos saw gains as high as 3,025%, 4,700%, and even 7,300%. I mean, most people go their entire life without ever making anything close to that.
Right.
But during certain periods in the crypto market, it is possible.
And based on what's happening with stablecoins now, you believe we're at one of those points now.
That's not what I believe. I'm simply doing the math. It's obvious. The money that's set to hit this time around is so much bigger. Over the next few years, a single corner of the crypto market is projected to become bigger than the entire crypto market is today. That's the key point. And that's not going to happen without all sorts of other coins skyrocketing as all of this capital floods into the market. Again, we've never had a catalyst this big in the crypto world. This regulatory framework and the money that it's set to bring in are truly extraordinary, unprecedented.
Wow. It's really interesting that regulation would be the key to all this, because it's really counterintuitive. Normally that's the last thing you want.
Right.
Regulation usually stifles innovation.
That's absolutely right. That's how it feels. And to be sure, if the government had been involved in crypto in the early days, it probably would have stifled innovation. But when it comes to bringing this market to the mainstream, you need to trust. And that can only come from rule of law.
Now, has anything like this ever happened before? I'm talking about in the global financial system. Have we ever had a new market emerge like this? Because I just want to make sure that this could actually happen, that it's not just, wishful thinking.
That's a really interesting question. And I have some good news for you. It has happened before. My team and I have written a lot about this. After World War II, Europe was in shambles, of course. It had racked up huge debts. Sound familiar? And its currencies were in trouble. Sound familiar?
Yes.
So the US government created what's called the euro-dollar market. So in very simple terms, it gave Europeans access to more stable money, the US dollar in this case, and provided investment opportunities.
Interesting. It definitely sounds familiar and sounds very similar to what's happening with stable coins. And what happened to the euro-dollar market?
Well, as you might be guessing, it absolutely exploded in size. So in today's dollars, it gradually grew from $285 billion to $2 trillion to about $13 trillion today. It is one of the largest, most liquid and important financial markets that underpin global finance today. Now, eventually, US banks started setting up divisions in Europe so they could benefit from this market as well.
Just like we're seeing banks do with stable coins today.
Exactly. You're getting it.
Yeah.
Kim, there's an old saying, which I'm sure you've heard before. Money goes where it is treated best. It doesn't care if it's a new market or one that's been around for 1,000 years. And right now, it's being treated best by stablecoins. As Forbes points out, stablecoins are proving to be a better, more efficient system.
We've got a Forbes quote. Let's take a look at that. It says, traditional international payments involve a complex web of correspondent banks, SWIFT messages, multiple compliance checks, and days of settlement time. The genius of stablecoins lies in collapsing this complexity into a single layer.
In fact, in an ironic twist, people are now predicting that stablecoins will replace the euro-dollar market. So Austin Campbell, a professor at NYU Stern School of Business, says over time, probably the entire euro-dollar market is moving to stablecoins.
Ironic. I mean, so that's another $13 trillion just up for grabs.
Precisely. And it's not just the euro-dollar market. Wall Street banks are worried stablecoins could replace huge portions of their own businesses. So let's look at this quote from Morgan Stanley CEO.
All right, let's do it. He says, we have to be ready because at the end of the day, if people use stablecoins as a transactional account, we have to be ready to have those transactional deposits stay within our franchise, or else you'll see a major migration of deposits outside the industry. So when he talks about deposits migrating out of the industry, he's talking about people circumventing banks?
Yes. Wall Street realizes that they've got to get ahead of this or they risk getting left out. Even Jamie Dimon has been forced to change his own tune.
Really? Jamie Dimon? I thought he hated crypto.
He sure did. He's been one of the most vocal and negative critics. But let's face it, he doesn't really have a choice. Like we just heard, banks are worried about getting disrupted. Mm-hmm. And that's why, according to reports, JP Morgan has quietly filed a second trademark application signaling deeper ambitions in the stablecoin space.
Wow.
Keep in mind, big Wall Street firms hold tens of trillions of dollars under management. So obviously, not all that money is going to end up in stablecoins, but you can see why they expect to see trillions of inflows. Yeah. BlackRock could practically do that all by itself.
BlackRock's getting into stablecoins too?
Yes, absolutely. Head first, with $11 trillion under management, BlackRock is the world's largest asset manager. And it just announced that it's backing a new stablecoin. Like I said, this alone is enough to boost the entire stablecoin market.
Oh, yeah.
And here's why I say that. In January 2024, BlackRock launched a Bitcoin ETF. And for the first time, it was sending part of its trillions directly into the crypto market. This helped trigger another bull market. Bitcoin broke out to several all-time highs, passing $100,000 for the first time. And all sorts of smaller coins soared. But once again, the opportunity today is even bigger. This time around, BlackRock is redirecting a portion of that money to one corner of the market. In fact, it's actively working with other big Wall Street players, as well as the Trump administration, to create a framework for stablecoin investing. I mean, that is great news for the coins that I found because they're tiny. Now, if they were stocks, they'd be like microcap stocks. So even if they only benefit from BlackRock indirectly, it could be enough to send them soaring.
Wow. I'm so excited to get more details on this. And I'm also going to ask you for the name and the ticker of a perfect way to play this.
Yep.
But there's just something I don't quite understand. Clearly, President Trump is getting a positive response from Wall Street on this. So it makes me wonder, why didn't the Biden administration do this?
I thought that myself. It seemed so obvious. But sadly, they were operating under a completely different mindset. They hated crypto. At one point, Biden compared cryptocurrency traders to, and I quote, wealthy tax cheats. His administration did everything in their power to stop it. Senators like Elizabeth Warren looked to create an anti-crypto army. Former Securities Exchange Commissioner Gary Gensler opened dozens of lawsuits, cases against crypto-related entities.
So they didn't just dislike it, they hated it. I got to ask why? What was behind all the hostility?
One simple word: control, absolute control. They wanted to create a central bank digital currency, CBDC, a nightmarish situation where the government would have had full control over our finances. And beyond that, they viewed the digital asset industry as their enemy. So any legislative discussion was just an opportunity for negative sound bites.
I see. And what about before Biden?
Well, stablecoins weren't a viable option back then. The market was simply too small. But now, well, we've seen it's all changed. Trump has put together a digital assets dream team. He has a crypto czar in the White House, an executive director of the President's Council of Advisors on Digital Assets, a counselor to the U.S. Treasury Secretary on digital assets, a subcommittee on digital assets in Congress, and pro-crypto chairs sitting on important finance committees. He's appointed a pro-crypto regulators in the SEC and CFTC, and so much more.
Well, sounds like we're seeing a shift in D.C., a real one.
It's like a wave. That's an understatement. Yeah. It really is a monumental shift. I've been involved in this space for over a decade, and I first told my readers about Bitcoin and recommended it in 2015 when it was just trading for just $240. And I've been actively investing ever since. And in all that time, we have never had a pro-crypto environment like this. It's opening up all sorts of doors, especially for stable coins. I mean, today we have barely scratched the surface.
Wait, there's more?
Oh, yes. For example, we haven't even talked about something as simple as credit cards. Every day, there are about 2 billion credit card transactions. But guess what? Stablecoins could replace that.
Now, is this theoretical or is this something that could actually happen?
Not only could it happen, it's already starting to happen. It's come out that retailers like Walmart are looking to stablecoins as a way to bypass the traditional payments system. So are Amazon, Expedia, and even some airlines.
Be a game changer, but why? Would they save money?
Money, billions of dollars. And they could settle transactions a lot faster, basically instantaneously. Remember, the stablecoin system is better. It's built on blockchain technology. The only thing holding it back is the regulatory framework to make it happen. And once that happens, a new era begins. We're already starting to see this. Recently, stablecoin news caused Visa and MasterCard to lose, get this, $60 billion in market cap in a single day.
Ooh, wow. Okay, so this is yet another massive market ripe for disruption by stablecoins.
Exactly. Like I said, we're entering a new era, an era built on sound money, unlike anything that we've had in years.
Yeah, right. Earlier you said stablecoins are creating a new gold standard.
Yes. So one of the biggest threats to the dollar has always been a rival currency, right? So people worry that the euro or the renminbi or even Bitcoin could replace the dollar as the global reserve currency. That's why in the past the government saw crypto as a threat. But with stablecoins pegged to the dollar, backed by US treasuries, that is no longer a concern. With the dollar, the backbone of every transaction, naturally its influence spreads.
Interesting. So stablecoins, they're not rivaling the dollar, they actually support it.
That is exactly right. And as the Trump administration says, stablecoins will help the dollar maintain its supremacy.
So when you talk about a new type of gold standard, you're not talking about gold backing stablecoins. You're talking about the dollar being the backbone of the global stablecoins market.
That's right. I mean, actually both, really. Believe it or not, some stablecoins are actually backed by gold.
Real, actual gold?
Yes, real gold. It's stored in vaults, and you can exchange your gold stablecoin for actual real gold if you wanted to. It's really amazing. In other words, we're returning to an era of sound money, only in digital form with the US at the forefront. So you can see that in this quote from Forbes.
It says, with stablecoins, the U.S. is positioning itself to lead a new era of digital finance where dollar dominance is secured not by legacy alone, but through renewed strategic and forward-looking public policy paired with bold, private sector-led innovation.
Well, can you see why Trump is so focused on Project MAFA, Kim?
I think I can. Yes, definitely.
Can you see why he's trying to get the legislation in place as soon as possible before the August congressional recess?
Yes.
In addition to getting out from under China's thumb through his plan, the dollar could be dominant for years, decades.
Love the sound of that. So you also mentioned the strategic Bitcoin reserve earlier. How does that fit into all of this?
Well, that's one of the most ingenious parts. You see, the federal government has acquired billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin from illegal actors. Nobody really knew what to do with it, but Trump, in his outside-the-box way of thinking, why don't we use it to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve?
Like we have for oil, the Strategic Petroleum Reserves?
The SPR, that's exactly right. So he signed an executive order establishing one. The plan is to use it as another form of debt reduction. So the stablecoins will be for the U.S. short-term debt problems, as we've discussed, and the Bitcoin reserve helps out with long-term debt.
How much does it help?
Well, according to some official projections, a Bitcoin reserve could cut the national debt by half over 20 years. And it's being compared to how Norway uses its oil reserves to create a budget surplus. Now, it's incredibly forward-thinking, which is why there's bipartisan support behind Trump's crypto proposals. Now, I'm sure you can see the potential here, Kim.
Just a little bit. Yeah, I mean, it's brilliant, right? Our debt is our number one long-term problem. And if history is any guide, which it always is, it's the most likely issue to cause a collapse in the future.
That's right. And without it, we'd be free to prosper like we did for centuries. Now, thanks to Project MAFA, not only could we remove our short-term debt problems, we could finally get on the path to making this debt-free dream an actual reality.
Wow. Okay, this is all coming together for me now, Jeff. So I can see why you talked about a golden century earlier. At first I really didn't understand. Trump's initiatives to most seem, random, a little haphazard at times. But now that you've laid it all out for us, I can see why Project MAFA is critical, both on a national level and for every one of us.
That's a great point. It's really going to affect everything from the value of the dollar to America's long-term independence. This is why President Trump said, what's coming is incredible. He's talked about his agenda as an economic revolution. And I have to say, he wasn't kidding. And of course, as an American, I'm extremely excited, if you can't tell. But I'm even more excited as an analyst and as an investor. Now, obviously, nothing is guaranteed, and I can't guarantee that everything will work out exactly as I've described, but I can say that what's coming could unleash a wave of investment unlike anything that we've ever seen before. Whenever big money has moved into the crypto space, it's always created entire bull markets and sent a range of crypto assets soaring. And we've seen this going back to 2017, like we looked at before. Only this time, the big players are all working together, targeting one single corner of the market. It's set to see more investment than the worth of the entire cryptocurrency market. And that is why my team and I have been working so hard. Yeah. We've created an entire investment blueprint. And as long as we act now, we can get in before the big money does.
So before you break down your blueprint,
okay.
I'm curious, how has this remained largely a secret? You said this market is hidden.
Yes, as stable coins, they operate differently. Unless you know where to look, the growth is obscured. So check this out. This is a chart of one Tether, we mentioned earlier, one of the most popular stable coins. Do you see any growth on that chart?
No, it's just bounced back and forth in a tight range. But you're saying it's growing.
Yes. Look at its hidden growth chart. It's growing more steadily than Bitcoin. And the same thing with USDC, a stablecoin managed by the company Circle, another popular stablecoin. So at first glance, its chart is also flat. You have to find its hidden growth chart to see what's really happening.
This is because of their peg?
Exactly. They're always valued at $1. That's why this market has remained largely a secret. On the surface, it doesn't catch anybody's eyes. It looks flat. But I don't expect that to last much longer, because over the past few months, smaller coins connected to the stablecoin market have jumped as high as 300%, 318%, and even 520%. And once the stablecoin legislation gets signed into law, Wall Street will have the green light that it has been waiting for.
Okay, so how much time do we have to wait then?
Very, very little.
Okay.
The president wants Congress to get stablecoin legislation on his desk lightning fast. That's what he says. Already the Senate has approved the Genius Act, which is the act that establishes the regulatory framework for stablecoins. Next, it goes to the House and then directly to the president's desk.
And what's even more amazing, perhaps, is just, you said it has bipartisan support, which we don't see very often.
Yes, exactly right. 18 Democratic senators supported the bill, which is incredibly rare.
Yeah.
And we're also seeing widespread support from all the big industries, Wall Street, Silicon Valley, corporate America, the crypto world, you name it. Trump said he wants this legislation passed before the August recess at the very latest. July 25th is the last day. Think of that as the official starting line.
And that's the moment everyone's waiting for.
Yes. As Bank of America's CEO said, if they make stablecoins legal, we will go into that business. Pretty clear. You need to get in before that happens. All the big gains that I've showed you, they came from getting in before the crowd.
So what's the best way to play this?
Well, there are three ways. So first, if you're looking just for steady income, you could invest in the stablecoins themselves. There are some big names as well as some lesser known plays. They don't rise in price. Instead, investors are rewarded in other ways, mostly through income, which is usually small interest payments.
Okay, what kind of interest rate can you get?
Well, 2%, perhaps on the conservative side, all the way up to, I've seen 30%, depending on circumstances with some stable coins. Now, to put that in context, we should remember the average bank account is paying just 0.6%. So 2% is actually phenomenal.
Yeah.
So even on the low end, stable coins are a much better income option.
Yes. So you invest in them, sit back, and collect passive income?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
So that's the first way. The second way is through what I call stable coin stocks. So you see the crypto market is starting to spill over into the stock market. And during past booms, these stocks have soared as high as 3,000%. And I expect the same thing to happen with the stablecoin boom. Now, I found a series of investments, and these are stocks directly tied to stablecoins themselves. And they're starting to pop up and have huge potential once the legislation is passed and signed by President Trump. They're essentially like cryptos, only they trade on the stock market. One of them recently soared over 600% in just 1 month.
Gosh, wow. Okay, so have we missed the boat?
No, definitely not. Again, this all happened before the big money is set to arrive. So as long as you get in before the August deadline, you're going to be fine.
Okay, whew, good. Okay, and you said there's also one more type of investment.
Yes, last but not least, you can invest in the small cryptocurrencies supporting the stablecoin market. Now, this is a proven strategy in the crypto world. Whenever a large asset grows, the smaller assets connected to it soar even higher. This is what happened with my Coinbase investment that I made in 2017. Bitcoin soared 17 times, but what happened to my Coinbase investment? Shares soared as high as 74 times my original investment. This same phenomenon is starting to happen in stablecoins. So over the past few months, as the big stablecoins have seen all of these inflows, some of these coins have jumped as high as 3x, 4x, and even 5x. But once the big money shows up, I expect to see much, much more movement.
And Jeff, can you tell us anything about these coins?
Well, Kim, I can't say too much here because there are people on the internet who always try and sleuth out my picks, and it wouldn't be fair to my paying members.
Right.
But I can say that they are all directly connected to the stablecoin market, and they are perfectly positioned to ride this $1 trillion wave of money for years.
All right, so the big question is, how can folks get their hands on your latest picks?
Well, I've got some good news. My team and I have put together a series of special reports. The first one is called the Project MAFA Blueprint, and that gives a full breakdown of my crypto picks, including names and specific ticker symbols. That includes both my favorite stable coins and the small coins directly connected to them. Out of all the coins in the market, these offer the highest upside, and they have arguably the biggest catalyst that we've ever seen in the crypto world.
Now, as we know, investing always involves risk, and you should never invest more than you can afford to lose in any recommendation. But I assume that goes for these picks as well, right?
Well, of course. But the great thing is you don't have to bet the farm. When Wall Street poured money into this market before, we've seen small coins like this skyrocket. So, even if you allocate a safe small percentage of your portfolio to these plays, they could actually turn into massive gains. And of course, I explain it all in that report.
All right. And what's your second report about?
Well, that one is called Stablecoin Stocks, and it's all about how to invest in this exciting market through the stock market. I'd be shocked if you'd heard of these investments, but they're perfect for both conservative and more aggressive growth investors. Now, on the low end, you could be looking at consistent double-digit growth. And on the high end, you could see some of the biggest gains that you'll see all year. I'll break everything down that you need to know in this report.
All right. And as far as investing in these, especially your cryptocurrency recommendations, how does that work exactly? Do you also offer some help on that front?
Yes, that's actually my next bonus. So in addition to these reports, my team and I have put together an entire training series. We call it Jeff's Crypto Course.
Good
Simple
name. Good name.
You see, there are a lot of misconceptions out there about digital assets, and the mainstream media would probably tell you that they're hard to access. But the truth is, everyday folks across the country are already investing in them, millions of them. In the course, we explain how to get started.
All right, and I assume it's geared to all types of people, including those who've never invested in cryptocurrencies before?
Absolutely right. So even if you're just starting out, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to worry if you've never done anything like this before. At this point, my team and I have helped people from all walks of life, and that's really one of the best things about cryptocurrencies and also my job. Cryptocurrencies are asymmetric investments. Their growth potential is much higher than their risk, and that means that you don't have to put up much money. On the downside, you could lose a few $100s, but on the upside, you could make 10 times that. So in this course, we show you how to invest in this market the right way. If you can trade a stock, then you can trade these coins.
All right, so how can folks get their hands on these reports?
Well, I recently launched an exciting venture called Permissionless Investor. And that's a research service built around cryptocurrencies and how to get in on the most exciting investments. Now, to my knowledge, it's the only research service of its kind. We use the same basic strategy that I've used in my own personal investing to get in early on some of the fastest moving projects.
Well, Jeff, I have to say, your track record, it's unlike anything I've ever seen. I mean, you've seen personal gains as high as 15 times, 46 times, 16 times, 45 times again, 13 times, 80 times, and the list goes on and on.
Ken, there are so many more examples, but that's the value of getting in early before these large monumental shifts. And that's how I invest, and this is precisely what we do in Permissionless Investor. Every month, my team and I send out our latest ideas and analysis.
So you have your initial batch of investments, but going forward, every month there will be more recommendations all throughout the year?
Yes, absolutely right. We have so much to look forward to. This is one of the largest growth markets in the world right now, and we are still in early stages of cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology. So those trillions of dollars that are expected to hit, they're not coming all at once. They're going to come over the years that follow. And as we find new, exciting early stage opportunities, we're going to be passing them along to our subscribers.
That sounds great. And I've got to ask now, how much does it cost?
Well, as you can imagine, the service doesn't come cheap. The retail price is $5,000, and that's because there is a lot of time and money and effort that it requires to support a service like this. It's the whole reason my team and I found out about this opportunity, Project MAFA, is through our boots on the ground research, and that does not come cheap. We spend millions every year on travel, on cutting edge research, on proprietary data sources, and employing a top-notch staff and a whole lot more. So really, $5,000 is a bargain. However, because of how urgent this opportunity is and because of how valuable it could be, I have arranged a special deal.
All right.
Anybody who joins today can get started for just $2,500.
That's a massive 50% off the retail price, folks. And that includes the reports that you mentioned, right? Anyone who joins today, they're going to get those as well.
Yes, that's right. They're included for no additional cost.
Are there any strings attached, though? Because as long as people act now, they can lock in this deal?
Yes, the only catch is that this offer could end at any time.
You should see a button there on your screen. Go ahead and click it now. It's going to take you to a completely secure enrollment form where you can place your order. It's simple, safe, and only takes a couple of minutes. And don't worry, if you click on the link, the form will open in a new window so you can keep listening in on our conversation. Or if you'd prefer to call in, just call the number there on your screen. But the easiest and fastest way to get in is to just go to the enrollment form. It will break down everything you'll receive. Now, when you join, you'll quickly discover something about Jeff. You'll be getting a lot more than just recommendations. Yes, you'll have plenty of opportunities to make money. After all, he spotted Bitcoin at $240. It's up more than 44,000% since then. He recommended NVIDIA back in 2016, and it's up as much as 23,000%. You saw the gains he's made in the digital asset space, and he's literally given his readers dozens of opportunities to see triple-digit gains and more across his research services. It's just incredible. But beyond that, you get a level of insights you don't get anywhere else. As I was digging into Jeff's background, that became pretty clear in the feedback. One member, Alan, says, "I always look forward to the next article and investment opportunity. What a wonderful education." Carolyn says, "I love Jeff's teaching. He has a teaching style. He's not pushy, and he's very knowledgeable. Another Alan said, I love your content. There are so many more just like these, all talking about how Jeff introduced them to a whole new world. So how does it make you feel that beyond all of your recommendations, people really enjoy the education part?
Oh, again, it's just absolutely fantastic. It's such a great motivation to keep doing what I do. And it's why I continue to stay in this business and serve my subscribers. I mean, just think about it. This is such an incredible space. The type of topics that I research and write about are incredibly fascinating, extremely exciting, and new breakthroughs are happening all the time. I mean, if we listen to the mainstream media, what do we get? We get nothing but doom and gloom. But actually, this is an incredible time to be alive. We have so much to look forward to. And as we speak, we're witnessing right now a financial revolution. Technology is returning us to an era of sound money, something that absolutely seemed impossible just a few years ago. This is providing unbelievable investment opportunities, and I absolutely love digging into the research, discovering great investment opportunities, and sharing all of my insights with my members. So I'll continue to provide the best education, if that's what we call it, that I can.
That's so great, Jeff. We can tell that you pour your heart into all of it. And we're about to launch into our extended Q&A session. And we also still need to get the name of one of Jeff's top picks. But here's a recap of everything you'll get when you join him today. Special report number 1, the Project MAFA Blueprint, where you'll get a full write-up on this initiative, as well as the names and ticker symbols of Jeff's top cryptocurrency picks. Special report number 2, stablecoin stocks, where Jeff reveals the best ways to play this through the stock market. Jeff's crypto course, where Jeff and his team walk you through everything. Between the reports and the course, you're going to have everything you need to get started immediately. Plus, you'll also get a full year of Permissionless Investor for a massive discount off the retail price. And last but not least, you'll get Jeff's 90-day ironclad guarantee. Tell us about that, Jeff.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up, Kim. Thank you. Cryptocurrencies may be new to you, which is absolutely fine. So we're giving you 90 days to test things out. Take the next 3 months to analyze my work, read the guides, follow the recommendations, read all the special reports, give everything a good hard look. And if at any point in the next 90 days you're not blown away by the results, then just call our member services team. You'll get a full credit of your membership fee, and you can apply it to any of our other high-end research services. And the best part, you'll get to keep all of those special reports.
Very good. All right. Okay. While folks are doing that, why don't we go ahead and launch into our Q&A?
Okay.
And during this time, we're going to give away the name of the free ticker symbol. How does that sound?
Sounds wonderful.
All right. Well, let me go ahead and get the iPad. Thank you, Jesse, with our questions here. All right, folks, it is time for the Q&A. Now, Jeff cannot give personalized advice, but we're going to cover as many questions and topics as we can, all right? So here's a good one. Let's start with this. What kind of holding period should we expect for your recommendations?
Well, it depends on the individual assets. I think, right now we're about to enter into what I believe will be a very strong bull market. Again, the big catalyst is the legislation that's being put in place. First comes the stablecoin legislation. Immediately after that will be legislation on digital asset market structure. These are incredibly bullish, will drive even more capital into the digital asset space. We tend to hold most investments for long-term capital gains, which means more than 12 months. But I would think on average, we'd like to see holding periods between 12 and 36 months. There will, however, in a market like this, be opportunities for short-term capital gains as well. And so when we do see great trading opportunities of high-quality digital assets, we will also send out alerts to our subscribers.
All right, very good. But you're going to be there telling them when to get in, when to get out, right? All right. Sounds good. All right, let's take a look here. Next question. I'm a Neural Net Profits member. So how is this service different?
I'm glad that question was asked. Neural Net Profits is a systematic short-term trading service. So we look to hold our positions typically less than 60 days. Average holding time is roughly around 45 to 50 days. I developed a neural network. So we are empowered by artificial intelligence. My team and I developed an AI to identify high probability trades based on all of the market data that we train the AI on every single day. It's a remarkable system. It really gives us an advantage in seeing movements in the markets and patterns in the markets that no human or group of humans could possibly see. And again, it's a very active service for short-term trades, less than 60 days. Permissionless investor is a buy and hold service. So we're really going for large, long-term capital gains. So that means less tax when you sell your positions. And we're really building on these large thematic trends. So like today, we've been talking about the incredible legislation with stable coins. Well, actually, we position ourselves with blockchain projects, cryptocurrencies that will benefit greatly from stablecoin legislation. And so whenever there is important themes or important movements, important trends in the blockchain industry and the cryptocurrency industry, we're positioning our readers ahead of those moves. That's what Permissionless Investor is about.
All right. Well, one of our viewers is asking, what is your background with cryptocurrencies?
I started investing in cryptocurrencies in 2015. I was fascinated with the original white paper and became very interested in blockchain technology for one simple reason. It enables the friction in any kind of transaction to be reduced. When you reduce friction, you make transactions easier, and you also make them a lot cheaper. And so I could immediately see applications in all sorts of markets, whether it was the mortgage markets or the financial markets or derivatives or property or intellectual property ownership. It doesn't matter. Blockchain technology applies to all of these sectors, and I knew it was going to be one of the largest growth markets in tech over the course of the next couple of decades. And so I invested heavily with my own capital, both equity stakes as well as the digital assets, the cryptocurrencies. And it's just been remarkable in terms of the profit and the returns, the investment potential, and the investment returns that I've experienced myself. And I still feel, even a decade later, after researching and studying these markets and investing in them directly, I still feel like it's early. I feel like we're just getting started in terms of widespread adoption with cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology. So there's so much to look forward to as I look ahead.
I love your optimism, and I'm sure so many people are glad that you're sharing your cryptocurrency insights with us, especially when it comes to this specific opportunity. Like you said, there's so much to look forward to, and speaking for myself, you've definitely opened my eyes today. Occasionally I hear people say that Bitcoin's best days are behind it, that there's, no more money to be made. But now you're telling us that a corner of the market could see more inflows than the entire crypto market combined, right? And that sure seems to suggest that some of the biggest gains could be yet to come, as you've said.
Well, you were skeptical at first, but I think you've got it now.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. There is so much opportunity in this space. And the naysayers are always wrong about crypto. They've been predicting the industry's death since the very, very beginning. I've forgotten how many times they told us that it was going to die. But the truth is, the industry is absolutely booming right now, especially with all of the latest legislation that's in the pipeline. Right now, one of the biggest opportunities yet is unfolding right before our eyes. And for those who missed out in the past, this is one of those rare second chances.
Yeah, this is a good time to remind everyone of your special deal. Jeff has found a series of small plays. You don't want to miss them. If they see even a fraction of the money that Jeff has been projecting, you could have the chance to see some huge returns in the very near future. Jeff's prepared a special deal for everyone watching right now. The retail price for a 12-month membership to permissionless investor is $5,000. But today, Jeff's put together a special deal for you, and you can see a full breakdown there on your screen. As long as you join right now, you'll just pay a small fraction. Best of all, as a member, you'll be able to take advantage of all of Jeff's upcoming recommendations. So please don't wait. If you join right now, you'll have the chance to act before a major potential catalyst. And if you wait even just a little bit, you could be too late. Just click the button on your screen or call that number there. All right, we're going to give away the name of one of Jeff's top picks, but I want you to hold on just a little longer. We're going to cover a few more questions first. So, because this one is really important, it's about risk. How do you manage risk in this service?
Well, in a service like this, we do a lot of fundamental data-driven analysis when we pick our recommendations for permissionless investor. And we monitor them on a daily basis. The most important thing that we're looking for is that particular project making progress? Are they doing the things that we either have been told that they're going to do or we believe or predict that they're going to be doing? As long as those things are still moving in the right direction, then we we maintain that position in our portfolio. But if something happens that is unexpected or unforeseen, or something that implies that the project has taken a turn in a different direction, we will send out an alert to sell and close our position to control any downside risk.
All right, very good. All right, someone is asking about how the money goes from stable coins to treasuries and why. So can you just quickly review that, how the stable coins need a peg, so they use treasuries? Because it is a little unusual.
Yeah, one of the most common questions that I get is how can people make money in stable coins? It's one US dollar is one US dollar. You can't make any money on that.
Right.
But they really miss fundamentally how really the banking industry works. If you think about how when you put your money into a bank, the bank takes that money and goes out and buys US treasuries. And it earns interest rates. It earns income from those US treasuries. Of course, it has that money to give it back to us when we need it. But it takes that money and sometimes it also lends it out to commercial development and home mortgages, all sorts of sources of income. Stable coins are no different. If a company that issues a stable coin sells 1 billion stable coins, they now have $1 billion. So almost all of that money will be used to go out and buy short-term US treasuries. One of the most liquid assets in the world, and it generates interest. So the company makes income from $1 billion or $2 billion of US treasuries, and that helps fund that particular business. And it also gives these companies the ability to give yields to people that hold stable coins as well. The US treasuries are the most obvious, safe, stable financial asset to back a stable coin with. It makes perfect sense. And so the majority, and when I say majority, I mean more than 95% of most stable coins are backed by US treasuries with, a much smaller percent on other US dollar related assets that might be trying to earn a little bit higher yield.
Yeah, that really does make sense. Thank you for kind of drilling that down for us a little more and giving us more details. That's a really good explanation. All right, we've got time for another one here.
Okay.
This is a good one. We've already touched on this earlier, but it does bear repeating. What if I've never traded before? Can I still do this?
Oh, yes. It is so easy these days. There are some wonderful digital asset exchanges out there like Coinbase and Kraken for those who are in the US. Extremely compliant, very buttoned up, very simple to use. Look and feel is very similar to your online stock brokerage account. But in our reports we have all that information for how to do this. It's really a very comfortable, simple environment. If you can buy and sell a stock. You can buy and sell a cryptocurrency.
You can do this. I love simple. You know me.
Yep.
Very good. All right, folks, we're coming down to the wire here. Jeff's special deal is only available for a very limited time. As a member, you'll get his next series of trade recommendations. So again, don't wait. Don't delay. As Jeff's explained, we could see all types of downward moves in the near future. And if you're only buying and holding, you risk missing out on some of the biggest gains. But if you act now, you're going to be ready. Just click the button on your screen or call that number there. All right, we have time for one more question, and it's actually mine. So what would you say to anybody who's just getting started?
Oh, well, that's a simple one. Don't wait. I think we said it before. This is a rare second chance. Because these are financial assets, they have to be regulated. And what's been holding back the entire cryptocurrency market, the entire blockchain industry, to date has been the absence of regulatory framework. This is a magical moment in time when the US government will put in place clear regulatory frameworks so that all institutional investors can participate. And that's when all the big money flows in. This will only happen once. It is a one-time event. And this is what's going to open up blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies for everyone. So I will only be able to do this once. I'll only be able to talk about this one time in my life, and it's happening right now. And the very last day before this gets unleashed is July 25th. So this is not years, and we are days away from this incredible moment in time, this monumental shift, I think is what you said earlier.
Yeah, this isn't theoretical. This is happening.
Yes.
All right, and we can't delay. All right, we have kept everybody waiting. So now tell us, what is the name of one of your top picks?
All right. This is a company that I think a lot of people will actually be quite familiar with it, but you're probably going to be surprised because I doubt you'll know that it is involved in digital assets. It's PayPal. Now, PayPal has launched its own stablecoin, PYUSD, and it's looking to incorporate into PayPal and Venmo for its financial transactions. Now, keep in mind, PayPal is the #1 online payment processor. It processed over $1 trillion worth of payments last year alone. And that means its stablecoin could see a lot of money flowing through it soon. Now, this is a great way to play this trend going forward with a very stable growth company that throws off free cash flow. PayPal is a phenomenal company. Now, with all that said, it's not the only one. My team and I have found several more with much higher upside. So I'll break them all down in my reports.
Yeah, I'm really surprised by that one. In other words, folks, as promising as PayPal could be, don't settle for this pick and just call it good. That would be like sitting down for a 7-course meal and only eating the appetizer. Jeff has a whole series of picks for you. They're ready to go, and you'll get all the details as soon as you become a member. All right, Jeff, we are up against the clock.
Okay.
So I just want to thank you so much for sharing this all-important, timely message
You're
with
welcome.
us. And I want to thank all of you for joining us as well. So, but before we sign off, Jeff, any last words?
Oh, thank you, Kim. Yes, just a few. I just want to say this really is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Moments like this in an industry where you have such a strong catalyst that you know will drive trillions of dollars of investment. These are rare. They come along once every decade, perhaps. This is not the time to wait. If this is something that is interesting to you, if you're interested in growth assets, growth markets, what's happening right now in cryptocurrencies and digital assets is absolutely phenomenal. It's not just the stablecoin legislation, it's the market structure legislation, and more will follow. We're at an extraordinary moment where, as we had mentioned, there is a confluence of agreement, bipartisan agreement. We have corporations that agree. We have the crypto industry that agrees. We have policymakers that all agree, which is why this is happening so fast, which is extremely unusual when anything is dealing with regulations. So this is not a time to hesitate. We're days away from this legislation getting not only passed, but signed off by President Trump and put into law. So please don't hesitate. And one final point is just to thank you for your time. It's your most valuable asset. I appreciate you spending some time with us. And always remember, we have so much to look forward to.
Well said, Jeff. I'm excited. I certainly hope you are as well. If you're ready to get started with Jeff, just click that button on your screen or call the number. Like he said, this is a massive opportunity. One corner of the crypto market could be about to see a huge influx of money, more than 10 times its size. As long as you act now, you could get in front of it. So please don't let this opportunity pass you by. Just click the button to get started. I'm Kim Monning. On behalf of Jess Brown, we just want to say thank you again and so long.